Well, as the death toll in Chicago mounts to war zone levels, you'll be pleased to know that finally, society has come up with a way to reduce handgun violence. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Whittle here with Steve Green and Scott Ott, and I'm privileged actually today to tell you about finally some kind of an actual enforcement to stop this terrible, terrible slaughter going on in America's cities. Because a group of do-gooders called New Yorkers Against Gun Violence have successfully, after a great deal of effort, lobbied Apple to remove the little pistol emoji from the iPhone's current and future operating systems and replace it with a water gun. Now that we all have ourselves completely cured of the murder problems, Scott, it's a tough thing. They make a lot of movies about these guys in the inner city, driving through the neighborhoods and then just, going like this. This is for you. This is for you. We've had this conversation so many times before, Scott. At what point does this just stop mocking itself? I mean, there's no satire anymore. You just simply can't get to the bottom of this kind of virtue signaling.
Yeah, from the people who brought you Django Unchained, we are now eliminating the emoticon for a handgun. You just want to openly mock these people, and certainly we have, and we will continue to do so. But in a way, it's just kind of pathetic, isn't it? I mean, it's just this idea that they literally, I'm sure that these little SJWs really think that they're having an impact. I'll bet you they raised a glass or a doobie or whatever it is that they raise to the moment when they found out that Apple was going to move. That just shows that you can speak truth to power and that the powerful must, obey the voice of the people by removing the pistol emoticon or emoji or whatever they call those things. And then that to extrapolate from that somehow they're having an impact on gun violence. Now, as we all know, over the last decade or so, the incidence of violent crime has actually been on the decline nationwide, and there are obviously pockets that violate that. And then in the last year or so, there seems to have been a slight uptick, and it was particularly showing up in Chicago, where they had been very proud of the fact that they had gotten down below like 500 gun shootings or gun deaths a year or something like that. Now they're up above 700, I guess, this year. So I think that people, because they feel like they can't do anything about something that they feel so strongly about, these little victories mean a lot to them, and the rest of us just sit back and laugh, and we send that single finger salute emoji on over to our friends.
Well, Steve, there's not just the gun emoji. Obviously, there are other potentially dangerous or potentially fatal emojis on the iPhone operating system. There's a bomb emoji, I think, for some reason, and also a lightning bolt. So if we're able to get rid of these two emoji symbols, do you think that will dramatically cut the deaths due to terrorism or electrocution here in America?
Oh, talk to me. Maybe Samsung phones have a Mohammed emoji that causes your phone to blow up. Wow, I went there. Yes, I did.
That's the first scientific explanation I've heard.
I honestly, I have a very hard time caring deeply about this topic because I don't like emojis, and it's right there in the name. We have these little emotional pictograms replacing language, and it's a pre-literate way of expressing yourself. You can't express any depth of thought or any depth of feeling with emojis. You can just express cute, bright little things, little objects to indicate your mood. And this is part of a broader cultural trend that comes from the left. Bill, you hosted a segment a few weeks ago on replacing Shakespeare at that university, and the woman or gendered person of whatever who was promoting.
Don't make assumptions, Steve.
Sorry, was had the temerity to really. How do I want to put this? To really express how she sees the universe. And one of her quotes that you put up was, "The search for truth begins inside of us." No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. That's saying that your feelings make something true. And that's the same thing with emojis, an expression of feeling. And if we eliminate bad emojis, we can eliminate bad things like gun violence, and it just isn't so. The world is hard, the world is concrete, and little expressions of emotion don't make one bit of difference. Let's have a literate society, not a pre-literate one.
Well, folks, the reason I think this story is so interesting is because it points out so many things about the liberal mindset that just aren't so. First of all, these people genuinely do believe this. They genuinely do believe that it's the glorification of gun violence in America that causes gun violence in America. I thought Hollywood was denying this as adamantly as possible. I thought all those big liberals in Hollywood, like Jamie Foxx, who gets out there on a gun control video right after Sandy Hook while Django Unchained is playing in the theaters, I thought it had nothing to do with that. But these people do believe that if you take this tiny little cartoon gun off of an iPhone, it's going to reduce gun violence. Makes you wonder what else they really, really believe. But as it turns out, there are two things really at work here in the liberal mindset. One of them is this idea of magical thinking. It's not wishful thinking. It's not like I would like for this to happen. Magical thinking in this case is, in fact, a complete denial of reality, a complete, utter denial of reality. It is basically saying, if we do this, then magically murders will go down. So that's one thing. Secondly is all of the virtue signaling and all of that stuff where you're basically trying to show everybody just how moral you are and how intelligent you are and how gentle you are and all the rest of it. I think the two things that really interest me the most, though, guys, is this. One of the things we've noticed with this whole gun issue is that the left demonizes the gun because, I think, because an object can be banned, but murder and insanity and rage and all the rest of it cannot. If we put all of the ills of the village, if we take all of the village's sins and put them on this inanimate object and then chuck that into the volcano, then all of us will be safe and there's nothing, absolutely nothing to worry about. It's a kind of a totem sort of a thing. It's just pre-civilizational kind of idea that if we throw this thing into the volcano, we're all going to be fine. It does make you wonder what else people like this actually do believe. And it would be funny if it weren't so serious. People like this are making decisions about our lives every day. And as Steve pointed out, they're not only departing reality, they're getting prouder and prouder and more virtuous the further away from reality they get. This is not going to end well, but it's not going to end well for them. Because we can't really be woken up to reality. We kind of live there all the time. We like to think that for people who I'm sure had genuinely good intentions on this, that their arrival back on the surface of the earth once the force of gravity reasserts itself is a little more gentle than it is in the streets of Chicago, where the real issues, which are caused by actual Democrats and liberals governing for 70 years, continue to go unaddressed. For Steve Green, Scott Ott, and the rest of the crew, I'm Bill Whittle. Thanks to our membership for making Right Angle possible. We'd love to see you over at BillWhittle.com if you get the inkling.